At 9 a.m. on News Channel 5. Newshound has your tickets to the Colts game. Watch News Channel 5 at 5 tomorrow.
Cracking down. U.S. troops step up the hunt for insurgents in the wake of the double Blackhawk crash. President Bush headed to the palace as well as protests in London. In the line of duty, one high school's heavy loss and continuing commitment. And remembering the death of President Kennedy 40 years later.
This is the CBS Evening News with John Roberts.
And good evening. President Bush said today he mourns the loss of life in yesterday's crash of two American Black Hawk helicopters in Iraq. 17 soldiers were killed when the Black Hawks collided, apparently trying to evade fire from the ground. It was the worst single loss of life since the beginning of the war. The U.S. launched more retaliatory strikes against Iraqi insurgents today, but as Ellen Pizzi reports, Saddam loyalists received another message of encouragement today.
This is part of what the U.S. military calls Ivy Cyclone 2. And in the words of an official statement, the blunt and important objective of this operation is to locate and destroy hostile factions.
Open the door! Open up the door!
That it is blunt was obvious. Whether or not the objective will be met is not so clear. This raid was aimed at a man suspected of being part of the Saddam Fedayeen who target U.S. troops. The suspect was not among those captured, and Iraqis complain that heavy-handed tactics merely provide the insurgency movement with more recruits. And added to that, an Arabic-language TV network aired an audio tape tonight purporting to be Saddam Hussein, calling on what he called holy warriors to strike coalition forces and those who work for them even harder. The aftermath of the crash of two Black Hawk helicopters may be evidence of the increasing sophistication of what the military calls non-compliant forces and foreign insurgents. Eyewitnesses claimed a rocket-propelled grenade hit one of the helicopters. The military jury is still out.
We're going through the process now, removing the debris from the sites. Formal investigation has been started.
Only 5 soldiers survived the crash. 3 have been flown to Germany for treatment. 1 is in the hospital here, and 1 is back on duty. The U.S. is doing its best to get out of occupation duty as fast as possible, and over the weekend reversed its policy of a constitution before elections and announced plans for an interim Iraqi government to take over by next June, with full elections and a constitution co-written by America to follow.
We'll have a Bill of Rights. We'll recognize equality for all citizens. We'll recognize an independent judiciary. We'll talk about a federal government.
Before that, there will be a lot more raids like this, and probably more of this as well. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Baghdad.
The war in Iraq is expected to cast a long shadow over President Bush's upcoming trip to Britain. He is the first American president ever invited by Queen Elizabeth for an official state visit. But as Richard Roth reports, while official Britain will welcome Mr. Bush with open arms, many other people will greet him with arms raised in protest.
The idea was a ceremonial tribute to a unique alliance. Instead, the visits put British Prime Minister Tony Blair on the defensive over the bond he's built with President Bush, over Iraq, and over what he's called resurgent anti-Americanism. One opinion poll here on the eve of the visit has found that half the country now believes the good relationship between Mr. Bush and Mr. Blair has been bad for Britain, and that going to war with Iraq was a mistake. Organizers behind a huge anti-war demonstration here last February plan to have thousands of protesters out for President Bush, and they're furious over reported U.S. requests to cordon off large parts of London in the name of security.
George Bush's advisors, unwelcome as they are, coming in their hundreds with all their support staff, telling the British government, telling the British police how to behave in our own country.
With a cost of more than $8 million, security for the visits becomes so contentious that British police announced they won't be protecting the president from the embarrassment of public protest, only from danger.
We haven't had a prime minister assassinated in this country for 190 years.
As for the dialogue we have with the U.S. administration, that is...
Benefits for Tony Blair are hard to see, and Iraq's not the only issue. There's anger here about the British prisoners still held among the captives at Guantanamo Bay. Even complaints that polluted U.S. ships sailing here to be scrapped should have been kept out. But as long as royal protocol can dominate the backdrop for President Bush, there's image-making opportunity in the visit here, a year before elections. Richard Roth, CBS News, London.
Yesterday's crash of the Black Hawk helicopters brings to 417 the number of U.S. servicemen and women killed since the Iraq War began last March. And while hundreds of homes, families, and communities have been touched by tragedy, there is one place in America in particular that has seen more than its share. Randall Pinkston went there for tonight's In the Line of Duty.
In all of America, you may not find a more patriotic place than Orangeburg, South Carolina, where flags wave proudly and a future generation prepares to serve.
2, 3, 4.
Students in the popular junior ROTC program at Orangeburg Wilkinson High School are more aware than most kids their age of what it could mean. Because 3 alumni from the school have lost their lives in Iraq. Private First Class Vorn Mack, Staff Sergeant Anthony Thompson, and the most recent casualty, Specialist Darius Jennings. He was one of 16 headed home on leave, killed when a Chinook helicopter was shot down.
Being that we are a small town, a lot of people wouldn't expect, 3 people to come from OW, Orangeburg County, to have died in Iraq.
There's no memorial in the school building. None is needed to remind students about the demands of military service. The cost of war is causing some to rethink their career plans.
They are a little afraid to enter the military because of the tragic losses that we've experienced here at Orangeburg Wilkinson.
Darius Jennings' English teacher knows 4 other graduates still in Iraq.
You know that your students are in the military, but the reality really does not hit you until you lose somebody.
Here in Orangeburg County, South Carolina, many parents give their kids the same choices that Darius Jennings' mom gave him. Go to school, get a job, or join the military.
He went to school, and he stayed there for a couple of months, then he dropped out. So quite naturally, the military was the next step.
Jennings' mom doesn't regret his decision.
You proud of your son?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Very proud.
No second thoughts either from these junior cadets.
I'm determined to help my country in any way that I feel possible.
I decided that I'd rather give my life for a purpose that is benefiting others, such as fighting for my country, than to pass away and do nothing.
You gotta put your life on the line if that's what you have to do when you join the military.
You're how old?
13.
And you understand that?
Yes, sir.
A lesson these students are learning from somber homecomings. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Orangeburg, South Carolina.
Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, what the tentative Medicare reform plan means for America's senior citizens, and remembering that day in Dallas 40 years later with 4 prominent Americans.
Millions of us are hospitalized with heart-related chest pain or a certain type of heart attack, what doctors call ACS. The cause? For most, it was blood platelets that formed clots which blocked blood from getting to the heart. Think aspirin and your other heart medications alone are enough? One more thing could help make a difference. Ask your doctor about adding Plavix. Added to aspirin and your current treatment, Plavix goes beyond what you're taking to help raise protection against heart attack or stroke. Plavix and your other medications work in different ways. Plavix, taken with aspirin, plays its own role in keeping blood platelets from sticking together and forming clots, which helps keep blood flowing.
If you have a medical condition that causes bleeding, such as a stomach ulcer, you shouldn't use Plavix. The risk of bleeding may increase with Plavix, and when you take Plavix with certain other medications, including aspirin, review your medicines with your doctor to minimize this risk. Additional rare but serious side effects could occur.
Add Plavix for more protection against heart attack or stroke.
Want to put some actual adventure in their lives? Outdoor gifts for the whole family. Dressing warm but not looking too cool? How about our stylish fleece pullover from $29.50? Feel like the person there to help you needs a little help? You're one call away from friendly LL Bean service.
Going to Big Lots transformed me.
She's scaring me, man. She thinks she's Santa.
Golly, it looks like a good night for a test run.
Claus?
Who's a big boy?
It started with the closeout prices on decorations.
Do you think the green or you think the poinsettia?
Remember those $12 Barbies for $6? She cleaned them out.
I bought all of them.
It does put you in the holiday spirit.
Oh, boy!
So does that make me like Mrs. Claus?
Big Lots. Brand names, closeout prices, happy people.
Where'd she get the sleigh? I have no idea.
We've been having our little breakfast club for as long as any of us can remember. Miss this because of constipation? No way.
Take X-Lax at night for gentle, reliable relief in the morning. Excellent mornings, guaranteed by X-Lax.
Out with a big can, in with a canister. Folgers revolutionary Aroma Seal plastic canister. The snap-tight lid helps lock air out and seal fresh aroma in. Folgers new Aroma Seal canister. It's uncanny.
The Hyundai Sonata makes more sense than ever. Once again ranked most appealing entry midsize car by J.D. Power & Associates. It's $3,700 less than a Toyota Camry LE when comparably equipped. Not to mention, only Hyundai has America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. And the Sonata's loaded with standard features. Test drive the 2004 Hyundai Sonata starting at just $15,539. When your car makes this much sense, you win.
A touted but tentative agreement on a Medicare reform bill was rolled out on Capitol Hill today, normally a quiet day in the corridors of Congress. Joey Chen tells us what the bill calls for and why it's not home free.
The very fact that Medicare conferees held a Sunday afternoon press conference shows just how critical the negotiations are. Lawmakers are under extraordinary pressure to come up with a Medicare deal before this Friday, when they plan to adjourn and head home.
I think it is clear that seniors no longer want excuses. They want results.
What may be more telling is that they quickly caution not all the details are yet done.
I stand before you indicating that we probably haven't reached complete success. But I don't think anyone expected that to occur. What we have achieved is success.
After months of tough, often stormy debate, the conferees did reach an agreement that gives Medicare recipients some help in paying for prescription drugs, but tilts the program toward greater competition with private sector health programs. It includes more support for low-income seniors, as well as what is described as the largest, most comprehensive package ever for rural Medicare recipients. That could resolve key sticking points for many Democrats and Republicans, but not all.
This has been a litmus test by those who have never supported and trusted Medicare to make sure that they had the provisions in there that was going to begin the dismantling of Medicare.
Caught in the middle, 40 million seniors, many like Sadie Coleman, who fears Congress will go home once again without passing Medicare reform.
What would you say to them if they don't get this passed this week?
I would tell them I'm very disappointed, and I would remember when election time comes.
That's exactly what the president worries about. A failed Medicare deal could be a thorny campaign issue next year. Today he told Congress to get the job done. Joey Chen, CBS News, the White House.
The FDA tonight is warning consumers to cook green onions thoroughly following an outbreak of hepatitis A that has killed 3 people and sickened hundreds of others. It's not known what caused the outbreak linked to a restaurant near Pittsburgh, but green onions have been linked to other outbreaks. CBS Sports is reporting tonight that 4 Oakland Raiders starters have tested positive for the designer steroid THG and, pending appeals, face 4-game suspensions. They include the current or former All-Pros Dana Stubblefield, Barrett Robbins, and Bill Romanowski. Louisiana voters have elected the state's first woman governor. Democratic Lieutenant Governor Kathleen Blanco narrowly defeated Republican and Indian American Bobby Jindal in a runoff election. Jindal was trying to become the Deep South's first non-white governor since Reconstruction. Just ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, the headline that has many in Israel asking why.
Consider all the ways you help protect yourself. And if you've had a heart attack, Ask your doctor if you're doing enough to help protect your heart. The Heart Protection Study by Oxford University researched Zocor. Zocor, along with diet, is the only cholesterol medication proven to significantly reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke in people with heart disease, regardless of cholesterol level. Zocor is a prescription medicine and is not for everyone, including women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant, or people with liver problems. Your doctor may do blood tests to check for liver problems. Because serious side effects can result, tell your doctor about any muscle pain or weakness you experience and about any medicines you are taking. If you've had a heart attack, get information about the Heart Protection Study and Zocor, and ask your doctor how Zocor can help protect you. It's your future. Be there.
From the very beginning, Smart Balance buttery spreads have contained no trans fatty acids and no hydrogenated oil. Trans fat can raise LDL bad cholesterol and lower HDL good cholesterol. Just the opposite of Smart Balance, which has the right balance of fats to help improve cholesterol. Smart Balance buttery spreads taste great without the cholesterol in butter or trans fat that's in margarine. It's that simple. Smart Balance buttery spreads. We have the right balance and the great taste.
I love nature.
Except when it stops.
You're constipated.
Maureen.
Try Phillips Chocolate Cream Chews. Unlike others, Phillips is stimulant-free. It works more naturally for cramp-free relief.
Phillips.
Comfortable cramp-free relief.
Isn't it time you found out about Imitrex? Ask your doctor if a free sample of Imitrex is right for you. Don't wait. Talk to your doctor today about a free sample of Imitrex.
The Hyundai Sonata makes more sense than ever. Once again ranked most appealing entry midsize car by J.D. Power & Associates. It's $3,700 less than a Toyota Camry LE when comparably equipped. Not to mention, only Hyundai has America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. And the Sonata's loaded with standard features. Test drive the 2004 Hyundai Sonata starting at just $15,539. When your car makes this much sense, you win.
What's Steve Croft doing wandering around a chemical plant? Demonstrating how easy it would be for a terrorist to do the same. 60 Minutes, tonight.
This week, witness some tender moments in our all-new exclusive Week of Wishes series. They'll bring you happiness, they'll make you cry, but most of all, they'll change some people's lives forever on The Early Show.
Al-Qaeda terrorists have claimed responsibility for bombing 2 crowded synagogues in Turkey, according to an Egyptian newspaper. Turkey's prime minister vowed a thorough investigation of the suicide attacks, which killed at least 23 people on the Jewish Sabbath. Israel's prime minister is under growing internal pressure to negotiate a Middle East peace. Backers of an unofficial alternative peace plan distributed the document today. And David Hawkins reports more heat is coming from an unexpected quarter.
We're on the road to catastrophe, reads the headline. 4 former Israeli intelligence chiefs told the country's largest newspaper if Israel is to survive as a democracy, it must end its military occupation of the West Bank and Gaza Strip and stop its, quote, immoral treatment of the Palestinian people. We're behaving disgracefully. There's no other word for it, said one former Shin Bet director. We've turned into a people of petty fighters using the wrong tools.
We are losing our way, we are losing our direction, and we are losing our vision.
It's an unprecedented rebuke from Israel's military and intelligence establishment of the way Prime Minister Ariel Sharon has handled the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But it's not the first one. Hundreds of Israeli soldiers have said they'd rather go to jail than serve in the occupied territories. More than 24 reserve pilots, a distinguished general among them, have refused to fly missions there. And the Israeli military's chief of staff recently criticized the government's crackdown on Palestinian civilians, saying it creates more terrorists than it stops.
These people have a right to present their views, but they can't make a claim that this is a substitute to the government policy since they were not elected.
Sharon has won 2 landslide elections, but a recent poll shows only a third of Israelis think his hardline approach is the right one, and less than a third say they'd vote for him again. When Ariel Sharon first ran for prime minister, he promised peace and security. Now, nearly 3 years later, Israelis have a lot less of both, and more of them are beginning to ask why. David Hawkins, CBS News, Jerusalem.
French officials have opened a criminal investigation into yesterday's fatal collapse of a gangway on the Queen Mary 2. President Chirac today visited the dry dock where at least 15 people fell to their deaths. The world's largest passenger ship enters service in January. Next up on tonight's CBS Evening News, lessons learned from the 4 dark days 40 years ago.
On-star emergency, this is Greg. Sir, I've got a signal that your airbag is deployed. I'm going to contact police and let them know where you are, okay?
OnStar is available on 51 GM models.
We've been having our little breakfast club for as long as any of us can remember. Miss this because of constipation? No way.
Take X-Lax at night for gentle, reliable relief in the morning. Excellent mornings, guaranteed by X-Lax.
Hello. Hello, how are you? Gordon Elliott. It's Campbell's Tasty Tuesday, sir.
Hi, how are you?
Good. It doesn't quite register. You know what's inside this bag? Campbell's cream of mushroom soup. That's the start of it all. Now, here's the magic moment when the Campbell's meets the cuisine. Now, if you like that recipe, you can go to tastytuesday.com and they have another one there every week. Take a bite. Tell me what you think of this.
This is great.
Do you ever cook with other soups?
I tried, but I learned the hard way. From now on, it's Campbell's soup for us.
Make it Campbell's instead.
Yeah.
So, think that cold will only last 4 hours?
Not with the way I feel.
Then why take a 4-hour cold medicine? Take Aleve Cold and Sinus. One pill gives you 12 hours of symptom relief.
12 hours? Now that's relief.
Aleve Cold and Sinus.
Cold pills. Could any of them start to work faster than Vapor Rub's cooling vapors? So you feel like you're breathing again? We don't think so.
Hi, I'm Keith Hernandez.
And I'm Walt Clyde Frazier.
What a marvelous night for the action.
Let's go to the play-by-play.
Oh, there's Mr. Graybeard approaching Miss Hottie. Oh, no.
Rejected.
Clyde, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, no play for Mr. Gray. Get that man our Just for Men Brush In Color Gel.
It's specially formulated to penetrate coarse facial hair and gets rid of gray in 5 easy minutes.
Gets rid of strikeouts, too. Just for Men Gel. The Rejuvenator.
That's one way around holiday blackout dates. The Capital One Miles One card is a better way. Fly any major airline anytime with no blackout dates.
What's in your wallet?
This is Donna from OnStar.
Yes?
I have been on the line with the police the whole time. They have recovered your vehicle.
Donna?
Yes, sir.
I love you.
We love you, too.
OnStar is available on 51 GM models.
Someone is watching you, watching in the workplace, in schools, in public spaces, and especially on your computer. So what's happened to your privacy? And how can you find out who's watching you and why? Beginning Monday, see an Eye on America special series, Eye on You, on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
This coming Saturday marks the 40th anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And even after all this time, millions of Americans remember exactly where they were when they heard the news. That's tonight's Sunday cover. 4 Americans on how that day in Dallas changed their lives and the nation.
I was in Dallas November 22nd and was supervising the plans for what we all thought would be a reasonably routine day.
Friday morning, 11:37.
On that day, 40 years ago, President Kennedy and his wife Jacqueline were on a political trip to Texas, first to Fort Worth, then on to Dallas. On that day, other Americans were going about their normal lives.
I was in geometry class.
One, a high school girl who would go on to become a first lady, then a senator, was living outside Chicago.
Living in a very Republican community with my very Republican father. So I found myself on the other side of the political divide back then.
I was out early practicing.
Another was already a household name, a defensive lineman for the Los Angeles Rams, who admired the president who'd reached out to a civil rights leader.
I said, wow, if he called Martin Luther King, that means that he's aware of the situation that blacks are going through.
I was at Manhattan College.
A third was a young college student, already thinking about his future.
Probably what he did was he put into my mind the desire to be involved in government.
And then, in one moment that brought a nation to a standstill, Kennedy was shot.
something, I repeat, has happened in the motorcade route.
Who had done it? Why? Would Kennedy live? Dan Rather was one of the first to get through to Parkland Hospital.
We had a doctor tells me he's dead, a priest tells me he's dead, and someone high up at the hospital has told not me, but our local station news director is dead. I think we've got here's a dead man.
We just have a report from our correspondent Dan Rather in Dallas that he has confirmed that President Kennedy is dead.
CBS was the first to report the news before the official confirmation. Rather was out on a limb for 10 agonizing minutes.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
We were all just stunned. Usually when teenagers go into an auditorium or a field house, it's filled with noise and jostling and pushing and jokes. It was just totally quiet.
Couldn't leave the car. Just sat there. I think it was about 2 hours, and just left the radio on with the car, but not moving because we didn't know where to go.
Rosie Greer got the news from his coach.
I mean, how could someone come in your house and kill a member of your family? We had been broken into as a country.
As a journalist, I felt that immediately. I remember it was just like a huge undertow, downpour of your head and heart. But then instantly behind that, you say, can't think about that.
Businesses locked up, schools closed, the daily routine of life interrupted. The assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, was arrested. Then on the third day, Oswald was himself assassinated. And in what is still a controversial decision, the National Football League decided the game should go on.
I don't know if we won or if we lost. There was no heartfelt in the game.
For 4 days, the country was in shock, glued to the television, struggling to comprehend what had happened.
First time I can remember crying publicly, except maybe as a very little boy, was when John Kennedy died, particularly watching his son. I mean, that image is still, up until September 11, that image was very much a part of my life growing up. And then on September 11 and after that, to see little boys and girls standing there looking at their daddy's coffin.
The nation knew instantly that whatever had happened, we were being tested, and that the nation's strength to get through the terrible time, it would depend on our unity.
It would not be for decades, until September 11, 2001, that the nation and a new generation would be tested in much the same way.
In both instances, we face a choice as a nation. We can either go inward, become fatalistic, fearful, feel as though America's best days are behind us, or we can summon our resolve and our resilience to go forward.
And that's the CBS Evening News for this Sunday. Later on CBS 60 Minutes, in a look at lax security at U.S. chemical plants. Tomorrow on the early show, the latest on the battle for Iraq. I'm John Roberts in New York. Thanks for choosing CBS News. Have a good night.
For news 24 hours a day, click on CBSNews.com. Brought to you in part by Walmart, a fun, friendly place to get what you want, when you want it. Walmart, always low prices, always. CBS News.
From your news and information leader. This is News Channel 5 at 5:30.
The interstates are supposed to save you time, but not today, not that interstate anyhow. Take a look. Interstate 40, I should say, eastbound from the air. It is a parking lot after a tractor trailer overturned forcing an evacuation. Good evening, everybody. I'm Scott Couch. We're glad you're with us. We will have more on that wreck in a moment, but first, the very latest on a deadly helicopter crash involving soldiers from the 101st Airborne. New tonight, that tragedy becomes real as families right here in our viewing area get the dreaded phone call from the Army. News Channel 5's Dana Kay live in the newsroom now with the latest.
And Scott, it was the worst possible news for Fort Campbell. Most of the families of those soldiers killed were notified overnight. The U.S. military is investigating whether enemy ground fire caused the crash. 17 soldiers killed, 5 were hurt, and it's the worst single loss of U.S. life since the war began in March. And it brings to 417 the number of Americans killed. Witnesses say the two aircraft collided, and some say at least one was struck by hostile